You don't compete with a force. You just get out the way. Your power's begging you to play. Begging you to play. Begging you to play.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Amalot. I'm your host, Amma Swiger, and today we're going to be getting into a bit of my personal life. I want to give you an update. This is going to be a bit of a shorter episode, and I just want to tell you guys a little bit about what's happening in my life because it is the underpinning of why things have shifted in the last few weeks and months. And yeah, so I'm gonna jump right into this. I have shared this with some people personally. For other people, this can be the first you're hearing of this, but I have been diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, MS, and it has been a bit rough. I'm not gonna lie. There is connotations that come with MS. You know, my first thought was, I'm like, well, how fast am I going to be in a wheelchair? It's like, well, you know, you could be able to be completely quote unquote normal and live a full life until you're, 80 or 90. You could never end up in a wheelchair. You could end up in a wheelchair in 3 years, 5 years, 10 years. Like there is no linear progression to this disease. Every person is different. And I was like, okay. It's funny, when I first started having some suspicions, I've known I've had something going on with me that's autoimmune related for a while. And by a while, I mean years. I just wasn't sure how serious it was. I've been gaslit by the American medical system in more ways than I will get into on this podcast. But if you are somebody who has also dealt with people just kind of being like, oh, all your problems are because of X, Y, Z, and they don't really want to pay attention to other things. I see you. I know how frustrating it is to advocate for yourself when oftentimes you are just pushed to the side. I am frustrated. I won't lie to you that this has probably been a diagnosis that I could have had for quite a while before now. And maybe that would have prevented certain new symptoms that seem to be sticking around maybe permanently. That's definitely frustrating to me. And if you have also experienced anything like that in this medical system, I raise my fist in all of our collective misery because this is not how it should be. But let me kind of explain a few things because I have a feeling there will be some common questions. Am I quitting photography? No. There might come a day where this job is not feasible. That day is not today. I love what I do. And at this moment, that's not changing. I am not experiencing symptoms that would prevent me from doing my job, but there are some things I now have to be aware of. I started feeling what can only be described as like bugs crawling on me a couple months ago. And that was my first suspicion that maybe something is a bit more serious. You feel like you're crazy. It's not fun. It's somewhat constant. Sometimes it's way worse. It's usually worse at night for me. And when I Googled what that meant, one of the things that came up was it could be a symptom of MS. And I was like, interesting. Ignore. I've had some other weird disturbances with my vision or tightness in my muscles, my calves. Well, specifically my left calf has been very, very tight for a long time. I've had tightness in a lot of my muscles, pins and needles in my arm. Just things that make life more uncomfortable. They don't prevent me from doing things necessarily. The biggest, I guess, symptom that I have, there's a fancy name for it. I don't fucking remember what it is, But basically, if I bend my head forward too quickly, like say you're bending down to pick something up, or if you're looking straight and then you were to look down at your feet really quickly, I get, not every time, but most of the time, a like electric shock sensation down my spine. So I have to be a lot more careful now when I'm bending and snapping, as Jordan would say. And it has meant, being a little bit more careful. Heat is a big trigger. So like being really hot and outside is something that unfortunately can exacerbate symptoms. And so I've been being a little bit more cognizant of that the last few weeks and just trying to be aware of that. Thankfully, I'm not having any issues with walking or holding things or anything like that. But all of it's very scary. It is a degenerative disease. It is a disease with no cure. It is a disease of the central nervous system. It affects your nerves and eventually your muscles in some ways. I guess it affects the nerves and as a byproduct, the muscles would maybe be a better way of saying that. I in no way am an MS expert. I am very, very new to understanding this disease. And I'm not going to lie to you guys. It's been really hard. And there's a gift in it. When I started thinking about, because, as with anybody who gets a life-changing diagnosis that's, not terminal, but like it's incurable. I started thinking about it. I was like, if I died tomorrow, what would I be known for? I was like, people talk about me being like a content creator, a photo and photographer and videographer. And this made me so angry, guys. And this is my job and I love my job. But I was like, I am so much more than that. I'm so much more than that. And there are, of course, people in my life that know this, who've reflected this back to me, but it's not how I've seen myself nor talked about my work. And I immediately was like, okay, this is a calling forward. This is an initiation, if you will, into seeing myself differently, into creating a different identity for myself, and also a realization that I don't desire to have a business that is just built to prop up people whom I don't really, I don't know what the word is, that don't believe in me as much as I believe in them. I want to work with people who find where there's mutual value being had, where it's not just, I pay you for content, that you make me look like a hot rich bitch, and that's that. I want people that I believe in. And this is not to say that I've had clients, that most of my clients in the past were people I don't believe in. I believe in pretty much everybody I work with. But I want to have the relationship with my work. If this work is going to cause me physical pain, because it does, it has been for a long time. There have been issues that I've had that I pushed through, and to ask any of my clients, they would be like, I would have no idea if you hadn't told me that. Like I will push through and provide my clients with the experience that I think is on par with what they're paying me for. And if I'm going to be so intimately involved in people's lives and brands, I want to not only have the ability to see them, but I want to feel like I am seen by them as well. So I want to see them and I want them to see me. And in realizing that, I was like, well, what of me do I want people to see? I don't want to just be the person that does stuff for everybody else. I don't just want a brand that is so focused on like how I can capture other people. I also want to speak about my own opinions on power, on my own feelings on what the purpose of life is, on growth, on leadership. I have a lot of experiences in my life. I have a lot of things that have been beautiful and hard, as we all have. And I was like, I want to have the space to bring more of that forward and not have the brand be so focused on like, here's what I do for everybody else. Here's also just who I am alongside that. And I want to work with people that desire to see me. And again, there are many, 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 many people that I work with that I would say that that's true of. But it was not the language I was using to attract people. It was very much this like, come work with me for like what you're going to get from working with me. And I'm like, no, I want people to work with me because of who I am. Because of the integrity that I hold, my beliefs about them as people, the way I see them. I want people to be like, I want to work with her for who she is. And that was maybe sounds like a small change, but it was a radically different way of approaching my own work inside of my own head. And I was like, okay, things are going to need to shift. I also realized that, not to be morbid, but the only thing that is promised in this life is that we all die. That the ending is always spoiled, right? Nobody makes it out of life alive. And we all know this. But something about being given a diagnosis of something that is incurable and that can have dramatic effects on my life. Hopefully that is not my story, but I don't fucking know what it's going to be. There are things that I can do. There are medications I can be on. There are life changes I can make, all of which we are currently exploring, to hopefully keep this disease at bay. But I don't know. I could be in a wheelchair in 10 years, in 5 years. I don't know. I could be 40 years. I could be never. But there's something about being faced with that really shifts how I thought about my own enjoyment of my life. Like, am I actually living the life I want to be living? And not that I wish for any of you listening to this an incurable disease, because I sure as fuck do not. But I do wish we all would be forced in some way to look at, like, is this the life you want to be living? And there have been pieces for me that are huge parts of my identity that I'm like, is that actually the truthiest truth? Is that really my deepest desire? And for me, part of that has been, I'm a photographer, has been my identity for 15 years. It has made me hundreds of thousands of dollars a year for a long time. It has built a 7-figure business that I'm deeply proud of. And it's not the thing I want to be most known for. I've always said I wanted to write a book, and I haven't. I've said, I wanted to bring back my podcast, and I hadn't. That I want to talk to more people. I find people deeply fascinating. I love hearing people's stories. It's why I love TikTok. It's why, sometimes Instagram frustrates me. It's because, everything is, the story is meant to sell. And, I love that. I have another episode where I talk about this woman who I just bought a candle from recently, where she was using her own story to sell. And when it's done well, it's great. But I feel like so often it's we're missing each other's humanity. And I'm like, I want to live. I want to play. And I share in the opening episode of this podcast that Jordan and I were talking, and it was this phrase came out of my mouth that I just was like, stop me in my tracks, which was, your power is begging you to play. And the context for that is that for me, and this was before I had the actual diagnosis, but it was all signs were pointing towards MS. And, there was a lot of different things. It was we're getting closer and closer and closer to that being the actual diagnosis. I had a realization that my own power is begging me to play, and that the things I've loved most in my career, whether it was Self-Love Saturday when I was a boudoir photographer, whether it was the wings that these rainbow wings I shot in 2021 that I called Queers Rising, whether it was the Strong Catalyst, which was this these photo shoots I used to do all around Philly for LGBTQ women. All of these things share one common denominator. And it was that I was playing. I was having fun. I didn't necessarily, I knew that the outcome of this would be business growth. That like, if I get more people in front of my camera, more people know about me, that should bring in more bookings, right? Like there was some element to this of like, this is smart business. But the real driver behind it was that like I was chasing my own creativity. I was chasing my own fun. I wanted to like be in relationship with other people, to be in that creative process, that co-creation process with other people. I wanted to be in person with people. I love that my job allows me to be physically in sharing space with other people. I loved when we used to do these shoots that were called the Strong Catalyst. And one of the markers of a strong shoot was that we would meet up in a location. I would like pick a random block or a bar and say, hey, we're going to meet in front of this place at this time. And people could just sign up and come. And we would wander around a random neighborhood in Philadelphia. And I typically had been like, maybe I would do like a lap around with like Jordan beforehand of like, oh, I like this spot and I like this spot and I like this spot. But sometimes I'd forget and we would make a left hand turn instead of a right turn walking around. And I would find a random construction fence that somebody had left unlocked. And I'd be like, can you go around the other side of it? I'd shoot through the fence. Or we'd be at a skate park and I'm like, can you go and like climb on these steps? And like these photos that became, I would go home from those shoots feeling like I had done drugs because I was on such a high. And people were so excited to come to these photo shoots. They felt so alive. They felt like they were getting to have their real self seen. But I was doing it from this place of like, I was just playing around. I didn't know if like shooting through a fence was going to look cool. I didn't know if telling somebody to hang off that thing was going to look good. I didn't know if that angle was like the right angle for that person. I just was like, ooh, what if I do this? What if I do that? What if I do this? And all it did was shape me into the photographer I am today and gave me so much self-trust in my ability to see things that didn't exist. And I've lost that a bit. I now am trying to, message and position and all of these things. And those are all beautiful. Brands should have positioning. They should have messaging. Duh. But this diagnosis has made me realize that like power is really the thing that drives us all forward. It is why I can't lie to you. I was very crushed and devastated and upset upon the initial diagnosis. But as the dust has settled, what I see is it's like, okay, you have two options. I either accept that this disease is going to do what it's going to do, and I continue to move as I had been moving, or I see it as an invitation to live and play full out, doing whatever the fuck I want to do, and knowing, as I have done in the past, that that has always been the secret to my success. This should feel like a cage, and somehow it feels like permission. And I'm sure I have more thoughts about that. I'm sure as I process more and more of this, I will have more thoughts about the idea that this should feel like a cage and it feels like permission. But what I want, I guess, in this episode to say is, one, my life has been turned upside down. I'm having to make changes with my life that are hard. I've got decisions to make. There are things that I, in the recent months have had struggles doing, such as bending over is a lot harder than it used to be for me. It causes me pain to do it. I'm constantly worried about having new symptoms, as that means there are new lesions in my brain or my spinal cord, and those can be permanent. They also can go away. It's a very weird disease. And the more of them, maybe not the more of them you have, but the longer things go on and the inflammation in your body continues to rise, the more scary some of the symptoms can become. And oftentimes those symptoms become permanent. That's terrifying. That should feel like a cage. It is still terrifying. But if that is what my life is headed towards, what I will not allow is me until I am no longer capable to not spend every day doing whatever the fuck I want to do. I will not allow that knowledge that might eventually become the story to stop me from living and doing what I want to do. Because if that becomes the story one day, I at least want to know that if my ass gets stuck in a wheelchair for the rest of my life, that I can look at myself in the mirror and say, Emma, you did everything you wanted to do. And you did it for you, and you did it for the people whom you care about so deeply. That you have clients who you have given your all to, and not given your all to them because you feel some weird feminine bullshit that like we're supposed to be doormats and serve other people. Fuck that. I want to serve people because I know that I'm good at what I do, and that those people that I am serving see me, see the way I serve them, and appreciate it. And the universe has been clearing out clients and situations and family members and friends and opening doors for me for the last little bit to realize that like those people are not meant to be in my life. They are not the clients I'm meant to serve. And that doesn't mean they're bad people. I still have so much love and respect for them. But if this is my life, the story will not be that I spent every day between now and if and when my freedom gets taken from me, apologizing for the space I take up, apologizing with my actions and my attitude, and trying to bend myself over backwards to fit into what somebody wants me to be. Because here's the truth, guys. I spent so much time between 2023, maybe a couple months ago, being like, okay, the industry, the branding world needs me to be X. I need to learn how to create X kind of content. These are the kinds of transitions that do well. Everybody wants bougie content because then that's how you get authority. And I became very good at it. I have an insane portfolio. And I'm also bored. It's not that I don't enjoy creating bougie content, but that's not all I want to be known for. I have so many creative ideas, and I've stopped chasing it because I thought for some reason that wasn't what was going to make me, quote, successful. And here's what a lot of people won't tell you. I am very successful sitting here today. I was very successful 6 months ago. 6 months ago, Amanda was very much in the belief that I needed to do and act and be and perform and create from a specific place. And that woman was making money. She was making money. Good money. Money that a lot of photographers would be like, how the fuck is she doing that? And I was fucking miserable. Because I know that I'm capable of more. It was like this power inside of me was begging to be let out. And I just kept being like, shh, no. That's not what's going to perform well. That's not what people expect of you. Nobody wants these things because that's not what's popular. Everybody's chasing the same shit. And here's the deal. All of that's true. And the algorithm can do what the algorithm's going to do. It can like certain kinds of content. It can, the what's popular can be what most people are going to come and want. And I have the power to create whatever the fuck I want to create, and it will be successful because there has never been a time where I've not created from that place and it hasn't been successful. I have all the proof. I have the track record. And this diagnosis has felt like a bit of a fork in the road of like, am I going to be the person that ignores the evidence I have of what I've been able to create because I hear everywhere on the internet of like, oh, you need to position this. And this is what high level women want. High level women want to be seen in their power and to not be given more rules. That's why so many high level coaches are not in a whole bunch of coaching containers. Why they're not on, like I see this from people who are making tons of money all the time on the internet. It's like a flex of like, I pay 6 figures to be in a 12-month mastermind, and I only went to, and their calls are every week, and I only went to 5 calls the last year. I literally saw this piece of content yesterday. And it's like, it's this flex, right? Like, I pay all this money to be in the space. It's like, well, why is she not going to the calls? Because she doesn't need to be, she knows that her power is her. She wants the support from the space. That's amazing. That's how coaching should be. But she's so clear about her power that she doesn't need to be on these calls. She doesn't need somebody to fluff her up. All she needs is the space for her to continually expand into that power, to have that next evolution documented so that she, when she's having a bad day, because here's the facts, guys, we all have bad days. You can be somebody who's making millions of dollars a month and still be somebody who is deeply self-conscious, who is deeply insecure. Why? Because you're a human. The more money you make, that doesn't go away. I have clients who are brilliant businesswomen. I have worked with people who have results that would blow your mind, and they are still insecure. They are still self-conscious. Why? Because that's part of the human fucking condition. But they succeed not because they don't have that. They succeed because they know how to tap into a certain level of power inside of themselves and to give that space to play. And for some people, playing is wearing bougie clothes and being in bougie environments, because that's the thing that their little girl inside of them never thought they'd have. For somebody else, it's about creating art. I have an insanely incredible client who comes to me with these wacky out of left field ideas. Just nutso. And she makes multi-7 figures a year. Why? Because she understands that when she can be alive in her own essence, that's magnetic, and that is the thing that drives her to continue to evolve and change. I know that, and yet I haven't applied it to myself. And this diagnosis was like, okay, it's not as if I didn't know the ending already, that we all die, but if I'm going to have it, potentially, again, it's not guaranteed, but potentially my freedom, my physical range of motion removed from me, maybe eventually my ability to shoot. Like, I'm not going to cry on this podcast, but I have shed 1,000 tears over the idea of, like, maybe there is one day where I can't hold a camera. That is a possibility. What I'm not going to do is spend the next few years until that maybe potentially could happen trying to fit myself into somebody else's idea of success. Somebody else's bullshit idea of this is how you should sell yourself. I'm going to do whatever the fuck I want, because every time I've done that, it has always succeeded. I'm going to fucking play. I'm going to live full out. I'm going to be a lot. And if you don't like it, that's cool. You don't have to follow me. You don't have to listen to me. You don't have to think I'm right. I'm going to be a lot, because I am a lot. And I'm going to allow my creativity, one of my favorite parts about myself, to have full reign, to just do what people have said is impossible. Because I've been doing what people have said is it was impossible forever. And that is how I want to be known. So I'm going to build the identity that is how I see myself. And here's the deal. That doesn't mean everybody's going to see me that way. People often get us wrong, right? You're never going to please everybody, and everyone's never going to see you the way you want to see yourself. But I want to become so doubled, tripled, quadrupled down on Amma, on her power, on her creativity, on her ability to create. That is what I spend my time doing. And it's why I'm so excited to bring conversations to this podcast. Why I'm so excited. I've got 9 beautiful souls who are scheduled in the next few weeks and months to come on this podcast, for me to release their episodes, for us to talk about all kinds of things. I have such beautiful people in my life, and so do you. And there are so many cool people on the internet. There's so many cool, creative things that we can do. Our power is so infinite. We can have an idea and we can bring it to life. And maybe one day I won't have the ability to do that with a camera. The thought of that is devastating. But what you can never take away from me is that creativity inside of my own brain. If I can't take pictures, maybe I can write. I can speak. Till I am a dead Amma, I desire to be somebody who plays in her power, who understands my ability to create, to co-create, and to live in the magic of that, and to co-create with people that not only desire to work with me because they think I'm good at what I do, but because they also see me the way I see me, and that I see them the way they see themselves. Their highest version of themselves, the version of themselves that they are ever evolving into, that I can see them the way that they desire to see themselves. I want to be known for that. And if that's a lot, I'm okay with that. And I'm sure I'll share as this all goes on what this means for me. There are a lot of things I still need to learn and research and understand and try. As my neurologist said to me, this is a disease where we throw a lot of darts at the wall and we see what sticks. And not gonna lie, frustrating. But also something about having your own humanity potentially limited by a disease that has no cure has made me deeply cherish the things that I love about myself. And I'm going to live doing those things until I can't. So I'm going to leave you with one final request. I know there are so many people that MS has touched. I am currently open to hearing any suggestions, treatments that people have tried, things that have worked for them. I know that there is so much I don't know. So if you have any suggestions, my inbox on Instagram is open. You can find me at the Amanda Swiger, Swiger, and we will prevail on. Ain't nothing gonna stop this girl, y'all. And I know the same is true of you. I will see y'all next time.
Begging you to play, begging you to play.